and welcome to the next one of our Lighthouse Kids at Home series. You find me here just about to have my lunch, and as I do, we've actually got a food challenge for you this week. I'm going to do a food challenge, then I'm going to pass on to Mags, who's going to tell a story, and Vicky, who's got a Blue Peter, here's one I did earlier, craft for you to do at home. We're going to be delivering the pack stew in your pack. You're going to have some of these goodies, these little Toy Story milk buttons, and so I'm going to use those just now for a quick challenge. Well, I hope I'm going to be quick. So what you're going to have to do is get your buttons out onto the top of your packet, have a nearby plate, a straw, which we'll deliver to you with the buttons, and then we want to see how quickly you can move, and I think it looks like there's 9 buttons there, those 9 buttons off the pack onto the plate. Okay, so Cameron's here with me. He's going to set the timer for me in just a second, and we're going to see how quickly I can move them. Then you play at home and see who in your family can move the buttons the quickest. So count me in, Cameron.
3, 2, 1.
Stop.
That is the time.
Okay. Okay, so there we have it. How fast was I? Or
You
slow?
were 8. I'd say about 17 seconds.
17 seconds. So you guys play at home. See if any of you can beat me at 17 seconds, and then message me on the Lighthouse Facebook page. Let us know your times at home, how you got on, and I'm going to hand you over now to Maggie, who's also going to be looking at a challenge involving some food as part of this week's Bible story.
Hello everyone. Well, that's going to be an interesting challenge Skiv's just set you. Wonder how you're going to get on with that one. It might also have given you a bit of a clue as the story I'm going to tell you. Got something to do with food. Not much of a clue, is it? I've got a few other bits here because I'm getting ready to go for a picnic. I've got my hat. I've got my sun cream. I've got a nice drink to take with me. Got a banana, got my sunglasses, and a nice roll to eat. So I've got all the things I need for a picnic. Now, can you remember what story you think we're having? I'm going to take my hat off because it might get in the way. Right. It was a lovely day, and there were crowds of people sitting, listening to Jesus. He'd been talking to them. He'd been healing people. There were mums and dads, aunties and uncles, grannies and granddads, children, cousins, and they'd spent all day sitting on the hillside listening to Jesus. And it was getting a bit late. And the disciples, his special friends, came up to Jesus and said, "It's getting late. Perhaps you ought to tell the people to go away and get something to eat." Jesus said to them, "You find them something to eat." "Us? We haven't got enough money to buy food for all these people," they said. And they looked at each other. They looked around. What were they going to do? A little while later, Andrew, one of the disciples, came back to Jesus and said, "I found a little boy who's got his lunch. He's got 2 fish and 5 loaves of bread. But that's not going to go far with all these people." Jesus said, "Get the people to sit down in smaller groups." Still not sure what was going to happen, the disciples asked everybody to sit in small groups. And they did. Jesus took the 2 fish and the 5 loaves of bread in his hands, and he looked up to heaven, and he thanked God for them, and thanked God for the food that everyone was going to eat. The disciples looked at each other, still didn't understand what was happening. Jesus broke the bread and the fish into pieces, and he started passing it out to the disciples to take round to the groups of people. So they fed one group, then they went a bit further, then they fed another group on the other side, and they kept doing more and more and more. And the story there in the Bible tells us that everyone had enough to eat. 5,000 men and women and children, and they all had enough to eat. In fact, they had leftovers. It says in the next bit of the story that the disciples gathered up the leftovers, and there were 12 baskets of bread and fish left over. Jesus had done it. He'd met the need of all the people. Now, you'll have heard that story lots of times, and you'll all have your favourite part of it. But I want to leave you with a little thought. Pair of scissors, piece of paper. I have 1, 2, 3, 4 corners on my piece of paper. I'm going to give away a piece of my paper. I'm going to cut a corner off. And I'm going to give my corner away. Now I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 corners. I've got more. By giving it away, I've got more. A little reminder that maybe this week you need to give what you've got to Jesus, and he can do more with it. It could be your time, it could be something you're good at doing, but you give it to Jesus and he can make more of what you've got. Now, we're going to go over to Vicky. She's got a really good craft for you to do to follow on from the story. So, over to Vicky.
Hello and welcome to the craft section of our Lighthouse Kids at Home session. Thank you very much for the yummy challenge, Pete. I'm not sure how many chocolate buttons would get eaten in this house rather than transferred. And thank you for the story, Maggie. It's good to hear about how a child with his packed lunch can help save the day with their feeding of the 5,000. So, to go with feeding of the 5,000, and they had bread and fish, I thought we could make some 3D funky fish. So here's my Blue Peter style one I made earlier. So this is what we're going to be aiming for. So in your packs you should have some paper and card. If you haven't got any paper and card, all you need is a bit of card. Just a bit of thin flexible card. I've cut it into a strip. It can be as fat or as thin as you want. That depends on how fat or thin you want your fish. And what you're going to do is fold it over. You see it makes that shape. And you're going to do, with your scissors, a little cut on one side and like just perhaps a centimetre, and then a bigger cut on the other side. And this is the magic bit, because this is how our fish will be 3D without any glue, because you're going to slot them together and then you get your 3D fish shape. You see your 3D fish shape? There we go. Right, next bit with your scissors. Remember to ask an adult if you've got scissors and you shouldn't perhaps have scissors, or if you need a bit of help. You're going to cut your tail shape for your fish. Right, there we go. My fish has now got a tail. I'm going to just draw some detail on my fish's tail to help him swim along. And you should have had some stickers if you've got a pack. If not, you can draw some. I'm going to go with the one with the lovely eyelashes for this fish. There we go. I'm going to stick his or her eyes on. You can decide how funky to make your fish. You can do different colours. You can do different patterns. I'm going to give my fish a little smile. And there we go. Next bit to do are some fish fins. So I've just cut out some fin shapes out of some spare card that I had. Again, I'm going to highlight the finniness by going around the edges and drawing a couple of lines to help it swim along. And then just a little bit of Pritt Stick glue if you've got some, or you could use sellotape or masking tape or PVA glue. If you do PVA glue, you might want to use a paper clip to hold them on, because sometimes it takes a bit longer to dry. And you're just going to press your fins onto your fish. And that's your fish made. And then you can choose how to decorate your fish. So I've just put some scales on this one, but I might put some rainbow colours on this one maybe. So I'd really love to see how you get on with your fish. Please, can you send us pictures to our Lighthouse Facebook page and show us your bright, colourful 3D fish. It'd be really good for us to see them. So have a really good week, everyone. God bless.